Vienna? Woo. How many people from Vienna are here? Clap your hands. No. Oh. As everybody might know, people from Vienna are often towards other Austrians, maybe towards other people, sort of a bit, like posh, sort of, we're the capital people. We're better than you, right? So I just want to let all the people from Vienna know that, just for you, I'll do some easy jokes as well. So we can all get along, yes. Everybody's doing all right? Having a nice evening? I don't really care, It's sort of, I'll just let you in on a trade secret. As you notice from the other comedians, everybody will come up on stage and say that. You're having a nice time, enjoying yourself. We don't really care. It's just, not really, it's just we had a good upbringing. It's like, you girls will know it, it's like when a guy asks you, was it good for you too? He doesn't really care. He's had parents who raised him, and you guys, when the girl tells you, it's all right, I'm sure it happens to everybody. Yeah. I wouldn't know, but apparently so. She's just being nice. Well, yes, this would be awful. As Jack said, I'm Swedish. I bet you could guess. Every time I do a gig in English, I sort of imagine to myself that I could trick you all into believing that I'm really English. But then I realized that'd be sort of impossible because I'm far too handsome. I'm not saying it's any British people. I'm not saying that. I'm not claiming to be handsome. I'm not saying that just to be me. It's just fact. I think that's why Princess Diana was so special to the British people, because she was a British person who was pretty. And she was far more pretty than the average British person, right? And that's like even after the car crash. Yeah. Speaking of dialects, I had a sort of funny incident. I went into this place, and this girl came up to me, and she I could barely understand what she was saying. And we spoke for like half an hour, and she was like, she was like my age. And actually, I thought she was like a stroke patient, because it's like, will you buy me a beer? I was like that. Yeah. Not being mean, she was like that. And I thought, well, I can't be rude to her. And then, as we sort of spoke, I sort of noticed the other people in the pub were sort of the same way. So I thought, we're young people. It's like, they can't all be stroke patients. So I sort of realized this must be like, sort of like mentally retarded people. Sort of like that. So I just, I can't believe that'd be too obvious, right? It'd be rude. So I just stuck around. And so it took me like 1.5 hours to just realize they were all Irish. Yeah. Cheers to the Irish people. I've been told this is a big year for me. I'm turning 40 this year. Hard to believe, right? Yeah. I don't really, there's not much I can do about it. But it's like, I don't really have a problem, because like, in the old days, like, decades ago, it'd be like a really big problem for guys turning 40. Because it sort of dawned on them, they're like, oh God, I will never have sex with a young girl again. It was like that. And then somebody thought, well, maybe we should just take a plane to Asia. Problem solved, right? How many people were here the last time? Clap your hands. Jack and 2 other people. Anyway, so I'll do this again then. It's sort of the secret to recycle all jokes. I'm Swedish, but my mother is Austrian. So growing up, when my classmates found out, it was sort of rough, because who is the most famous Austrian of all time? Take a guess. Yes, it's Hitler, yes. As though Hitler's like a fat person in an escalator, there's no getting around him. Yes, he is the most famous Austrian. But as you may recall, he got some competition, sort of like a few years back, by this basement pedophile guy. Yes, exactly, yes. Mr. Fritzl. Who could forget, right? I'm sure his kids won't. So when you first hear that, if you're the same person, you hear that story, and you know what he did to his daughter and all that, you sort of start thinking, how could you do what he did with his own daughter? It's really hard to comprehend. But then, if you look at a picture of his wife, Actually, it was good for him. He didn't do what he did in Sweden, because, of course, for the basement, he didn't have a construction permit. So Swedes take that things really seriously. Actually, if you ever been, how many have been into Sweden? Ever? Yeah. Do you know we have a piece of confectionery actually called a Negro ball? We do. It's not very PC to say it, but when I was a kid, it was no problem. It was like, the label would say Negro. It's like a confectioner made of chocolate and coconut and that sort of stuff. Now, of course, 2016, you can't say Negro ball anymore. You have to say Negro genitals. Otherwise, you'd be sexist. You know? Yeah. I don't know about you guys. There's always, if you're like a bunch of guys going out together, there's always one guy who likes to make things more difficult for himself by like going after a certain type of girls that's way over his, you know, not in his league, like supermodels. Well, maybe not you, but one of the guys in the gang will always do that. I have a friend who's like that. He likes married Muslim women. Yeah. And I just you know, I cut a long story short by saying he's not the guy in the gang who gets laid the most, but he is the fastest runner. Like slightly over 3 hours, he does a marathon. Yeah. I'm sort of like public service minded, so I thought I'd tell you a little something. Do you know when you watch television, everybody you see on screen, they appear to be like 10 kilos heavier than they really are. Do you know that? It's something we do with the camera lenses and that sort of thing. So sometimes when you see a celebrity, they don't look exactly as you might imagine they would. That's good to know, actually, because sometimes if you see a celebrity you haven't seen for a while and you think they're sort of, oh God, you know what's happened? What they've done to themselves. They look horrible. And then you realize, yeah, TV adds 10 kilos to that. That was a close one. It sort of works all the way around. It works the other way around as well. If you see like sort of starving Africans, you know, really sort of more dead than alive, and you say to yourself, my God, it's horrible what they've done, what's happened. And then you notice, a TV adds 10 kilos. That's when you change the channel. That's what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll sort of round out with this. I'm sort of putting everybody down except myself, I think, so I'll put myself down by telling you how the relationship with my former girlfriend ended. You want to hear that?
Sure.
Yes, you do. Actually, I'm sort of very careful to point out that I wasn't dumped. It's very important to me to point that out. I wasn't dumped. It was a very mutual decision. Yeah, you know the story. Yeah. Actually, it was. It's not just an excuse, because both her and her new boyfriend were sort of very, very mutual agreement that me and her should break up. My name is Erik Iancovici. Thank you very much for having me.